Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. And in today's video we are looking to prepare our chili plants and pepper plants for overwintering. Now, this is not something that myself and Mrs. W have really done before. I guess like most of us, we buy the seed and get it started late February, March, and do the things that you need to do. But I have since discovered that these plants actually can be overwintered, and they can be overwintered successfully. They are perennial plants, and speaking to one or two people, these plants you can do this for several years, 7 or 8 years, and these plants will continue to keep producing. Now, there are some benefits to doing this. Probably the two most beneficial things is that come next spring, when you put them out into your borders, in your greenhouse borders, they're going to come into growth much more quickly. And because it's already got an established root ball, the roots can access the nutrients in the ground, and as I say, growth can become so much quicker. And you'll see as we go along, the nodes that we leave, they'll produce more branches. And if you think about it, when we sowed the seed, and you saw us earlier this year sowing the seed for our peppers, it takes a huge amount of time before they get to a stage when you can plant them out into the greenhouse borders. And they have, their roots are sort of just starting to fill the pot. And I think we'll be surprised now that when we actually do lift these plants, just how much root is on them now. So it kind of makes sense that if you can successfully overwinter them and then plant them back out once the temperature's on the rise again next spring, the roots are already in place, there to be able to throw out those new branches, throw out those new leaves. So hopefully we get a larger harvest, a quicker harvest, and of course, especially in this day and age, a cheaper harvest. And that's one thing to remember, that when it comes to things like pepper seeds and chili seeds, they tend to be among some of the most expensive seeds that we as gardeners buy, and you tend to get about 5 seeds in a pack. So if germination is not very good, it can become really frustrating. Now, there are, of course, with every upside, some downsides, and I don't see anything really negative by not trying to do this. But in the interest of getting a fair balance, we do have to remember that these plants are going to go into pots, and unless you're lucky enough to have a heated polytunnel or greenhouse, you're going to have some space in your house to be able to keep these plants. And then, of course, some gardeners just think, I can't be bothered with the extra effort. There is a little bit more effort, as you'll see, but your time costs you nothing, but the seeds for these cost a great deal. So the choice is yours. There's nothing wrong with sowing seeds every season. Myself and Mrs. W have done that for the last, I don't know how many years. But this year we're going to try something different. So if you want to do that too, then please do it along with us. Now, you want to begin this process when your nighttime temperatures are regularly going below 7 degrees Celsius. These plants become stressed and don't really like the temperatures that low. Here in Norfolk, where we are, we're seeing temperatures at the moment certainly going below 10 degrees, sometimes 4. Tonight I think tonight we're supposed to be 4 degrees. So more or less we're at that point now. And if you think to yourself, early October to mid-October, depending on where you live, then this is the right time to be doing this. So there we are with that. And I did say earlier, you know, you'll be amazed just how much root these do make. And you can see the roots there. So as I said earlier in the introduction, if you think all those roots are already there and in place, of course it's going to throw everything nice and early. It's well established. So next we're going to get it onto our table, and you're going to need some secateurs. Now this next part of the video, it's probably quite apt that we're doing it in October because Halloween is coming up, and what we're going to be doing to this plant is probably going to seem rather scary. Now you can see the way that the plant has grown. The main stem is here, and then it's produced these shoots from the side stem. And there are 1, 2 on this plant, there are 3 here. We're going to concentrate on reducing these, but always leaving a node. And by a node, you can see like there, that's a node. And when this comes into growth next season, that's where it's going to throw a branch and leaf out and start to regrow. And there's a good example there of one that's already done that from that node. So that's how you know where the nodes are. Now some people prune these down to about 4 or 5 inches and just leave these nodes here. Myself and Mrs. W, after talking with each other, we're going to leave several nodes on here and probably only take it down to sort of here really, because we want to give this plant every chance to be able to overwinter, and with several nodes then I'm pretty sure that that is going to give it more of a chance of doing so. It's not that I'm saying that what other people are telling you is right or wrong, it's just I'm hedging my bets, which is not a bad thing to do when you're gardening. I'm going to start here. And take that off. And if I spin the plant around, we're going to take this off down to here. This one also needs to come off, because you can see there is a node here. There's a node here, so this needs to come off. And of course this. And we're going to take this one down to here. That's that bit of the pruning done. And the main objective to all of this really is to ensure that this plant doesn't really grow over the winter months. And then what you need to do is to actually, the next really brutal thing to do, and it does seem brutal, and it doesn't seem right, and that is to take all of the leaves off this plant. Now I know that this really does seem not quite right, because you feel like you're killing the plant, but actually the roots and the main stem are still alive, and what we're really doing is putting it into a hibernation mode. And you can see that this plant has all these different nodes, And when we bring this out next spring, hopefully branches will start to grow and leaves will start to grow, and this plant will once again produce its wonderful, wonderful peppers. So we've moved outside for this part because what we actually now need to do is to give these roots a rinse. All sorts of insects and pests could be living within this soil where it's been growing, so we want to rid of that so that we have a nice clean soil into the pot for this to overwinter without any pests giving it any serious problems. So we've got ourselves a bucket of water and just give the roots a good rinse. Run your fingers through them. It's a bit like washing your hair, really. Well, those of us that still have some hair. There's no need to laugh like that, Mrs. W.
I'm looking right on the top of your head.
Now this in no way is going to hurt this plant. It just ensures that we've got as much of the old soil off. Remember, it's been sitting either, in this case, in the polytunnel, and the ones that we have in the greenhouse, they have been sitting in there all through the spring and summer, and any number of pests could be there. Now the next thing you want to do is to add some fresh compost to your chosen pot, and then you take your plant and you just want to check that that's going to fit in there all right. And I can see that what you don't want is these roots to become too entangled. Yeah, so if your pot was slightly smaller than this, you can actually trim the roots so that it fits the pot nicely. There's not too much wrong with this, but what I am just going to do is just to show you that you can do that, is just to take this piece off here. Get your plant in the pot and just make sure the roots are nicely spaced around, and then just take your compost and lightly put some around. But because we've washed all of the old soil off, just use your fingers and gently just try and push that compost so that it's mixed in between the roots nicely. Now you can see there that the roots are now covered, so now just lightly press it down. Don't be too heavy-handed with it, you don't want to break any of those roots, so just lightly. And then you can see here where the soil originally came, we're just going to add enough compost so that it's come back to the same height. Now you can see we've actually done all of the peppers and the chili peppers, and you just want to give them a real good soak now so that the roots can settle down. And then these are off to our spare bedroom where it's nice and cool but certainly no frost, and ideally these want to be kept in a temperature of somewhere between 13 and 18 degrees Celsius, which our spare bedroom will achieve for these. So I know our youngest daughter will be watching this. She's gone back off to university, Sasha. Hope it's going well, but you have been replaced by some chili and pepper plants. Now Mrs. W was saying to me that she's actually seen some chili baubles, and that they would make really great Christmas decorations, these pepper plants. Actually, when you think about it, they do look a bit like antlers, don't they, now that we've cut them? So yeah, when you come back and break for your Christmas holiday, Sasha, your room's going to look very Christmassy, with chili baubles on the plants. Now, once these are in the location that you're going to put them to overwinter in, the only other thing that you just need to keep an eye out for, just check weekly that stems haven't grown and leaves haven't grown. If they have, then just snip them off in the same way you saw us do when we were in the polytunnel. And now that these have had a good water, they will need very minimal watering. As I say, we want to put these to sleep. They're going to go into hibernation. So only when, you know, they really have dried out, and, you know, if you can stick your finger down into there and the first half an inch or so is still moist, they're fine. But if it's dry, it's time to water them. But when you do water, water very minimally. They don't want to be soaked in water like you've just seen me do here. This is just to settle the roots down in their new homes, because they're now going to go indoors. Now, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, and do leave us your comments down below about whether you've actually successfully overwintered your pepper plants before. And if you haven't, let us know if you're going to do it along with us, because it would be great, and we can share our experiences between now and next spring. The other thing that I did just want to say, it's Monday today, Monday the 10th of October, and here in Norfolk, our temperature is going to dip down to 4 degrees. And there's certain places in our garden where 4 degrees could mean a frost, because of the certain places where there's frost pockets. So that's telling me that I need to move my potatoes in. So a quick update on the potatoes. Here they are. These are the ones, if you remember, we're growing for Christmas. And what were these planted about 3 weeks ago? Maybe 4, I can't remember the exact date, but it certainly was in September. And you can see they've sprouted, grown really, really well. So I'm confident that we're going to get a harvest for Christmas Day. You never quite know till that day comes, but if you keep following our channel, and the best way to do that is by subscribing to our channel if you haven't done so already, and then you'll be notified whenever we upload a video, and you can follow our progress and see exactly what we're going to get from our Christmas potato buckets. But yeah, I did actually see on the news today that actually in the Midlands it's likely to get down to 0 degrees. Say over here we are quite near the coast, so that's probably why we're going to be around about 4 degrees. But we are getting to that time of year now where if you're not sure, and it's getting close to a time, the temperature is getting close to where it could freeze, get your potatoes under cover, because that frost will severely check them, especially if it's a severe frost at any time between now and when we want to be harvesting these at Christmas. And then I just wanted to say, we do apologise if you haven't seen a video from us for a little while, but myself and Mrs. W actually have had COVID. It's the first time that we've had it actually. So yeah, we were a bit poorly and just weren't able to get out into the garden. So everything that you've watched up to the last video, we'd actually filmed before we actually tested positive for COVID. And the other thing is that last Friday was actually Mrs. W's birthday, and I never got a chance to wish her happy birthday on film, which, you know, I really wanted to do because she is always behind that camera, and without her, you know, there are no videos. And she also keeps me on the straight and narrow, so what I'd really like to say is, you know,
I try.
what I'd really like to say is really thank you. All these years of putting up with me and actually supporting me in what we do in our garden. It's been amazing. We shall see you on the next video.